Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about tools and specifically vintage Porsche toolkits. Now the prices on these toolkits have gotten absolutely insane. I really cannot believe what people are paying for these toolkits online. I mean, look at this. Here's one example sold for $11,000. And this is not just like a one-off anomaly. Look, here's another and another. So this is like what they're actually going for.
Great Scott!
Why have these vintage toolkits become so expensive all of a sudden? Did we suddenly realize that maybe Snap-on was making these tools back in the 50s and 60s? That's a joke because like Snap-on tools are really very expensive. Anyway, it's not like the tools in this toolkit are amazingly good or made out of special materials. I mean, yeah, the McLaren F1 came with these titanium tools in its toolkit, but that's not what we're dealing with here. I mean, the tools are absolutely fine for kind of a DIY roadside repair sort of situation, and I'm sure that in the era, plenty of people actually did use these to do repairs on their car. And of course, Porsche chose all the tools in this toolkit to be specific for the 356 and all the common jobs that you'd need to do on that car. But now I have to say, with the toolkits being as valuable as they are, I really don't feel comfortable carrying them around in the front of the car because this is a pretty easy thing for somebody to just walk away with, and then I'm gonna be paying a fortune to replace them. But at the same time, I don't want to get stranded on the side of the road with no tools to repair the car. So let me show you the cheap alternative to the OEM toolkit that you can assemble yourself for just a couple $100. So usually the tools that you get with a modern car these days are really cheap junk. But back in the 1960s, the toolkit supplied with your car was actually pretty nice. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was enough to do some basic roadside repairs. So let me show you my original toolkit. It is mostly complete, but over the years, a few of the items have kind of gone missing. I also suspect that the previous owner replaced some of these tools because some of them don't have the OEM markings on them. All right, so what you're gonna wanna do is take your OEM toolkit, fold it up, and put it somewhere safe at home. Or maybe not. Maybe you need the cash, so go ahead, sell it on eBay or bring a trailer and you can use the money for a few mortgage payments or maybe even buy a motorcycle or something. All right, so let's say you're gonna leave your original toolkit at home. What tools should you actually bring with you? And I have to thank the good folks at the 356 Registry because they did an awesome article on all the tools that you should bring with you on like a road trip. And that was online and in their print magazine. And so I have to thank them for the inspiration for including that. And in fact, that article included a bunch of things that weren't in the original toolkit, but that are really, really useful. So not only is it cheaper, but it's also better. And this setup is gonna cost you about $200 or so. Now, first of all, if you are the type of person who would never in a million years attempt a roadside repair on your 356, you can stop watching the video now. In your case, just make sure you have your AAA card, take that out and call for roadside assistance. But for everybody else, let me show you what's in the toolkit that I assembled. And definitely keep in mind, you don't have to go out and buy new stuff. You might have some spare screwdrivers laying around, you might have some spare wrenches laying around. You can assemble it from spares if you have those at home. I'm also gonna put a link in the video description to a spreadsheet with the full list of all the tools that I've got here. Now keep in mind, these are occasional use tools, so you don't need to go out and buy fancy stuff. In fact, these are from Harbor Freight, and I think this socket set only cost about $20 and has basically all the metric sockets and a socket handle, a couple extensions that you need. So let me show you what else we've got here besides the socket set. I also bought this cheap replica 356 pouch, but you could get something like this Carhartt toolkit pouch, which you can get off of Amazon or pretty much at any store. And I actually prefer tool rolls over a toolbox because they take up a lot less space. One thing that I forgot to mention is that the tools are pretty useless without the knowledge of how to use them. So I would recommend picking up a spare owner's manual, which has pretty good instructions in it, and you can also get the small owner's handbook shop. It's kind of like a service manual, and keep those in the car as well. All right, so let's look at what I've put together here. Again, thanks to the 356 Registry for all the tips on this. All right, so you definitely want to carry a spare belt with you. I've also got the tire pressure gauge. I've got a couple of adjustable wrenches here. Again, adjustable wrenches, very handy. I've got a number of screwdrivers here, similar to the original kit. I've got a flat, a Phillips, and a stubby. And actually, if you'll notice, this one, I have tested it, and because it's got the square shank on it, it works for holding the generator pulley in place while you loosen the bolt on the front of that. And of course, this is the tool that you use to loosen that pulley bolt. You can pick these up almost anywhere. I think Pelican Parts sells them for about $18 or something like that. And so definitely want to have one of those. All right, and then also from Harbor Freight, I picked up a set of combination wrenches, metric combination wrenches. Again, a full set of those. Very handy to have some wrenches in metric sizes. Sometimes handy to have a pair of scissors if you need to cut something. I have got a small file here, comes in handy. I do have a pair of pliers, always good, as well as some vice grips, a needle nose set of vice grips and a regular set of vice grips here. I've got a magnetic pickup tool, which is always handy to have. Again, something the OEM toolkit would not have had. I have got the spark plug socket, and then I've got some needle nose pliers and some cutters. So again, a bunch of stuff that maybe didn't come in the original toolkit, but can be very useful and make your life easier if you have to do something, an emergency repair on the side of the road. And you're probably wondering, well, how would you change a tire if you had a flat? The jacks have also gotten really expensive. You can pick up sometimes one of these. I had a spare one of these laying around, which actually works on the 356, so I put that in. So obviously, if you have to remove a wheel, you're going to also need a lug wrench. I had this sitting around, but if you're going to carry a breaker bar and sockets, you can obviously just use those. I also carry one of these Element fire extinguishers with me. I know it's not really a tool, but it could save your car if it catches on fire. And so for $90 or whatever this thing costs, it is totally worth it for the peace of mind to be able to put out a fire. Now, normally in my cars, I also carry a tire patch kit, but that's because most of my cars don't actually have a spare tire, and the 356 does. So even though it's like 1,000 years old, I've got a spare tire. And so I don't have a tire patch kit in the car yet, but I'm probably gonna pick one up. Another thing I'd highly recommend getting is a first aid kit. You can pick one of these up. I like this one. You do have to add some of your own medicines to it, but it's got all the basic stuff you would need in case of an emergency. And then I keep a tow strap in here as well, just in case if I had to get the car towed somewhere, or like have somebody latch onto it, because the tow hook on the front underneath here is a little bit hard to get to, and it's nice to be able to put a strap on there. Last but definitely not least, I always carry a quart of oil with me. Again, doesn't really count as a tool, but important to have. All right, so that's about it. That's the stuff that I have in my toolkit on the 356. Please let me know down in the comments if there is something important that you think I missed. Having the right tools is great, but sometimes you also need spare parts. So I'm gonna do another video about the spares to carry for a 356. So if you like that kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel. As always, thank you for watching.